College Readiness and Rhetorical Analysis. So welcome to Unit 1, Part 1. This is a guide to the PowerPoint. So we have context building, what is college readiness to success, where is college readiness formed, the imagined students versus reality, what does this have to do with essay number 1, the college experience, discussion post number 1, journal entry number 2, and homework reminders. Context matters. Why building context matters. Everything you need to know. Context equals clarity. Context is everything that helps us understand what we see, hear, or read. The more context we have, the more we can understand something. Imagine reading a book with the middle pages missing. You would be missing important context to understanding the story. Think of the phrase, that was taken out of context. Context is like puzzle pieces. The more pieces you add to the puzzle, the clearer the image becomes. Think of context building as a pre-reading strategy. Having background information regarding the topic of a reading will help in understanding. Context helps us understand references made by the author. It can help us understand key terms in the context of the reading. It can also help us make sense of the data we encounter in a reading. This PowerPoint is filled with context helpful to understanding the readings in this unit. Reading it will help you in understanding the articles because you will have more context related to the topic, college readiness and education. Context building. So the topic here is, who is your average community college student? Do you know who you go to school with? That's a good thing to know. 45% of all undergraduates in the United States attend community colleges. 51% are 21 years old and younger. 41% of all community college students are first-time students, and 70% of ELAC students specifically are part-time students. What is college readiness? College readiness refers to a student's capacity to enroll at a post-secondary institution. So a post-secondary institution means after high school. Take credit-bearing classes beginning in their first year and earn passing grades in those courses, and then persist to their educational goals. So what this means is that students are not only taking credit-bearing classes, they're passing those classes and successfully using their certificates or transferring to universities, earning their degrees, etc. There is a pronounced and widening socioeconomic gap in college access and success in the United States. The leading cause for this gap is a lack of college readiness, the multidimensional set of skills, traits, habits, and knowledge that students need to enter and succeed in college. So if we take a look at the image here on the bottom left corner, we see a potential student. Now that potential student may have access to college, but if they don't have college readiness, they might not reach success. Having access to college is not the same thing as being ready for college. College readiness being those skills, those traits, those habits that help students succeed in college. So this is what we mean when we say that there is a gap in the success. College readiness is formed in microsystems, the immediate settings in which students experience everyday life in direct interaction with people, activities, roles, and objects. Institutions are designed and modified in a level of the environment where students are not present, but that affects their lives. So shaping environments. What else about our environment shapes our college readiness? Well, different ideologies in education. The way you and your environment value education can affect your success. Institutions, from K through 12 all the way through postgrad. The way institutions are structured can affect student success. The structures we experience, our jobs, home life expectations, socioeconomic class. Educators, the types of educators we encounter and the experiences we have with them can affect us. Individual agency, when a person acts on their own behalf, making our own life decisions. Institutions and the imagined student. So a lot of post-secondary institutions are really created for the imagined student. So the imagined student is prepared in high school, they enter credit level courses, they have supportive and knowledgeable family, they're financially stable, they have an open schedule, and they have individual agency. Now we know that the reality is that the majority of college students don't have college readiness. 25% of high school graduates are prepared for college level work. 72% of incoming students apply for financial aid, which tells us that they might not have financial stability. 60 to 72% of college students work. This tells us that they have split focus, they have responsibilities, they have other priorities. 29% of community college students are first-generation students. This also tells us that they might not have somebody at home that can answer specific questions about college or their courses. Now you may be wondering, what does this have to do with essay number 1? Well, essay number 1 is a rhetorical analysis, which is what we learned about in the Backpacks vs. Briefcases article. A rhetorical analysis asks you to analyze a piece of rhetoric. In this case, you are analyzing an article from our file on Canvas. So the Unit 1 readings have 5 articles, all of which are pieces of rhetoric. Anything that's a text is a piece of rhetoric. A photograph can be rhetorical, an outfit can be rhetorical, a book can be rhetorical, a speech can be rhetorical. In this case, we're analyzing rhetorical articles. These articles make arguments. The topics of these articles are college readiness and college education. Context building helps us make more sense of what we read. The more we know about something, the more we know whether someone's argument makes sense or not. In order to analyze someone's rhetoric, we must make sure that we understand what points they are making before we can decide if they did a good or bad job. The college experience. Whether you are a returning student, a brand new student, or a soon-to-be graduate, you've all had varying experiences in college. Think about your own experiences with education so far and prepare to answer discussion post number 1. Discussion post number 1. Do you relate to any of the information you read regarding community college students? Explain. What was the most shocking or interesting thing you learned? In what ways can colleges improve the experiences of students? Explain. How prepared do you feel for the workload this semester in all your classes? Explain. Journal entry number 2. Preparing for essay number 1. Please respond to this in your digital journal. Remember that your digital journal is just any Word document, Google document, etc., where you are going to respond to all of the journal entries before you turn them in at the end of the semester. Essay number 1 is a rhetorical analysis of an article related to the college experience. You will pick one article and analyze the author's use of the rhetorical appeals to effectively persuade the readers that their argument is valid. This means that in order to understand how an author is using the appeals, you first need to know what they are. So make sure to list and clearly define the rhetorical appeals for yourself here. That way you can continue to refer back to them when you're analyzing the article. Homework. Begin working on completing the Unit 1 module. Answer discussion post number 1. Make sure to answer journal entry number 2 to prepare for the next Zoom meeting. Read the next file in the module, Unit 1, Part 2, Writing the Essay.